26 cars destroyed at Talladega, one driver's name on every screen, and the garage is telling a completely different story from what you saw on social media. That number, 26 of 40 cars, is not an exaggeration. It is the official count. 65% of the entire field collected in a single sequence at Talladega Superspeedway. The race was red flagged. Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski, Ty Gibbs, and William Byron, all of them had their days ended simultaneously. The name the internet immediately attached to all of it, Bubba Wallace. The name the official NASCAR account identifies as the initiating contact, Ross Chastain. And the name that Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney kept bringing up when the cameras found them afterward, not a driver's name at all. A package name, a format name, a systemic failure that has been building for months and finally detonated in the most spectacular way possible. But here is the detail that made this story twice as messy as any ordinary Talladega big one. Bubba Wallace's team radio said one thing. His Fox Sports TV interview said something different. And then Fox posted a clipped version of that interview on social media that was missing the most uncomfortable 30 seconds of the entire exchange. Stay with this, because what the garage said at the 70% mark of this story reframes everything the internet decided in the first hour after the wreck. Talladega Superspeedway, the Jack Links 500, and a race that did not begin as chaos. That matters because understanding how Talladega exploded on lap 115 requires understanding exactly how calm it was before that. NASCAR stretched stage 1 to 98 laps in a deliberate attempt to reduce the fuel mileage game to force drivers into committing to the race rather than managing fuel cycles at the expense of actual competition. The strategy produced exactly what NASCAR hoped for in the opening segment. Cautious manufacturer strategy, calculated green flag pit cycles, and drivers carefully protecting their equipment for what everyone in the garage knew was coming in. Stage 2, Ford, dominated the top of the board. Ryan Preece won Stage 1. Bubba Wallace was in the mix competitive but without a signature moment yet. The first 98 laps looked like a chess match being played by professionals who understood that patience was the only currency that mattered early. Then, Stage 2 started. And every single thing that made Stage 1 manageable evaporated in the space of a few laps. The saving was over. The aggression ramped up. The lanes compressed to inches. The pushes got harder and more deliberate. The field transitioned from patient and strategic to fully committed and structurally unstable, and it did it in almost no time at all. That transition is the exact dynamic that drivers have been warning NASCAR about for months with the current superspeedway package. At nearly 200 miles per hour, with 40 cars stacked inches apart, the window between controlled aggression and total catastrophe is measured in fractions of a second. By lap 115, that window closed. Here is the official sequence, and it matters that you hear it clearly before social media's version. Official NASCAR coverage described it without ambiguity. Race leader Bubba Wallace received a strong bump from Ross Chastain at the end of the backstretch. That shove sent the No. 23 sideways toward the outside wall. Cole Custer had to react instantly. The three-wide pack that had been running at racing speed collapsed into itself with zero reaction time available to anyone behind them. Turn 3 became smoke and torn metal. Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski, Ty Gibbs, William Byron, Bubba Wallace, and a long list beyond them. 26 cars officially collected, one of the largest single crashes in Cup Series. Recent memory. The race was red flagged. When it restarted, the competitive heart of the afternoon was already gone. Carson Hocevar survived the chaos, held his position, and won the subsequent 3-lap shootout, beating Chris Buescher by 0.114 seconds for his first career Cup Series victory. The win was real, and it was earned. But the emotional center of the Jack Links 500 was never the finish. It was the wreck and the argument that erupted the moment the smoke cleared. Here is your pattern interrupt. Drop your answer in the comments right now, a specific position, not a maybe. Was Bubba Wallace the cause of the Talladega big one, or was Ross Chastain's shove the initiating contact? And the internet just needed a name to attach to the carnage? Because X, formerly Twitter, produced two completely opposite verdicts from the exact same replay within minutes of the incident. Side 1 was relentless. One user posted, "Can't be bothered to apologize for all the cars he wrecked. Doesn't say he hopes everyone is okay." "What an entitled self-righteous, another wrote. "Why does it say involved in the wreck when he caused it? I think he needs to go down to Xfinity or karting." Claims spread that Wallace had been blocking both lanes simultaneously. The language was not measured. It was immediate and absolute. Side 2 pushed back with equal force. One user asked directly, "Can someone explain to a NASCAR noob why it's Bubba's fault? Wasn't he hit from behind? Is it because he swerved to block the driver that changed lanes?" Multiple accounts pointed directly at Ross Chastain and at the Superspeedway package itself, not at Wallace. One replay, two completely irreconcilable verdicts, both spreading simultaneously across the same platform. And underneath all of it, a second wave of backlash forming, this one aimed entirely at Fox. Complaints about the volume of commercial breaks during the race broadcast had been accumulating all afternoon. That frustration mattered because it set the exact frame through which viewers interpreted every editorial decision Fox made after the wreck. Before Fox's role gets examined, Bubba Wallace's own communication needs to be examined because what he said depended on which microphone was in front of him. Team radio, immediately after the crash, per reporting after the race, produced a tone that pointed outward. The line that circulated, "They wrecked us." That is the instinctive, unfiltered response of a driver who just had his race ended by contact. Then came the Fox Sports interview with Jamie Little, and the register shifted completely. Wallace said, "Damn right. Nothing to show for it in the first stage, obviously, just trying to figure out the strategy stuff. Man, just hate it. Hate it for Xfinity, hate it for our team. Don't want to have any DNFs. We have 2 now. Just a bummer. But we have to figure out how to be pushed better. So, I take responsibility on that, and we'll have a good debrief and figure out what we can do to make our Toyotas a little bit better being pushed and maybe not have that happen." The longer post-care center statement continued. "Got wrecked there, unfortunately. Our Xfinity Toyota Camry was a little unstable getting pushed, but manageable. Maybe that hard of a hit was too much, and so unfortunately, we wiped out a bunch of cars. Got to debrief, figure out how to be better." He did take responsibility publicly. That is a documented fact. But the specific phrase, "figure out how to be pushed better," lit up X immediately because a portion of the audience read it as spreading accountability to the car and the tele-faced package rather than owning the movement decision directly. And because his radio tone and his TV tone were measurably different, the perception that his message shifted depending on the audience became impossible to contain once it started circulating. Now comes the Fox angle, and this is where the broadcast made a controlled situation worse through what appeared to be selective editing. Per reporting after the race, Bubba Wallace's very first line to Jamie Little was, "Well, I dozed off waiting on you so long." A sarcastic response to a long delay before the interview began. Jamie Little acknowledged it, apologized, noted there was a lot happening. When Fox later distributed the interview on social media, that opening exchange was absent. The clip began after the sarcastic line. Viewers saw only the more measured portion of the conversation. The reaction was instantaneous. Fans who had already been monitoring the broadcast for commercial volume issues immediately concluded that Fox had trimmed the roughest edge off the moment to protect either Wallace or their own broadcast image. Whether the omission was deliberate editorial management or routine social media clipping is unknowable from the outside. What is knowable is the result. It looked like image management. When your audience is already suspicious, when they have been cataloging commercial breaks for 4 hours, any clip that appears selectively edited confirms their suspicion, regardless of intent. Fox deserved the criticism it received. If you show the interview, show the full interview. The sarcastic opening was not dangerous. Hiding it was far more damaging than airing it would have been. And then the drivers spoke, and this is where the story fundamentally changes. Ryan Blaney, a driver who lost significant championship points in the wreck, did not assign individual blame. He stated, "I feel like we all just got pinballing off each other there. It's not like there's any blame on anybody. It's what this thing is. We see each other. We all just kind of get bumping and banging, and one guy eventually gets turned, with the car being as unstable as it is. It definitely stinks to be out early." That is not a man saying, "Bubba Wallace alone destroyed his afternoon." That is a driver saying, "The package is the powder keg." Joey Logano went further, and his statement is the most important quote to come out of Talladega in the post-race conversation. "It's frustrating. What do you want? Save fuel or crash? Pick one. That's what it feels like right now. You've got round bumpers on these things. The cars are unstable, and once everyone starts pushing and racing aggressive, it's going to happen. So, until we fix that stuff, we're going to continue seeing it, unfortunately. That statement removes Bubba Wallace from the center of the analysis entirely. Kyle Larson, also collected, said the same thing in softer language. He identified the Stage 1 to Stage 2 transition. As the combustion point noted, the race went from more saving than expected to far more intensity than he anticipated, and said he did not know where the middle ground existed. Every driver response points in the same direction. The garage is not identifying one driver as the singular cause. They are identifying a superspeedway format that transitions from fuel conservation to full aggression with no stable intermediate state. The final verdict requires holding two things simultaneously. Bubba Wallace was leading. He was at the front, making decisions in the most consequential position on a 200 miles per hour superspeedway. He deserves scrutiny for those decisions, and he acknowledged as much publicly. Ross Chastain's shove is the initiating contact per official NASCAR coverage, and that fact is not optional information. The superspeedway package created the conditions where one bad push produces 2-6, car carnage, and Blaney, Logano, and Larson all confirmed that publicly after the race. The internet demanded a villain. The garage identified a structural problem. Both conversations are happening at the same time, and neither one is complete without the other. Texas Motor Speedway is next. NASCAR has not responded publicly to the driver complaints about the superspeedway package, and the question of whether this was Bubba Wallace's fault, Ross Chastain's fault, or NASCAR's fault is going to follow this sport into every restrictor plate race remaining on the 2026 schedule. Drop your definitive verdict in the comments right now. Individual fault or systemic failure? And tell us whether Fox deliberately edited that interview or whether the backlash was overreaction to routine social media clipping. If you want full Texas coverage, every NASCAR package development, and the complete championship standings, fall out from Talladega the moment it happens. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because the conversation the barrage started after this wreck is not finished yet.